Hello, and thank you for joining Achieve It Solutions for today's demonstration. We will be demonstrating our Container Management module. Our Resolv suite of modules integrates with SAP Business One's master data and standard tables to simplify and enhance users' day-to-day processes. Our first step is to ensure that you're logged into standard SAP Business One, which will allow you to access your Resolv add-on modules. Container Management configuration can be found under your SAP Administration option. If we open our Resolv setup, you'll see your list of Resolv available modules. Today we're going over Resolv Container Management, so we will begin with Container Management configuration. This first screen in Container Management configuration allows you to set some of the basic settings for using Container Management. These include your Container Management report and its location. All users will need read-write access to this location if they'll be using any container management reports. Our next options are our display currency and our currency exchange rates. Both of these options will be grayed out if you already have transactions linked to container management. If not, you will be able to set these options. Our next important setting option is Copy Broker ID. The broker ID is a field listed on your container entry screen, which we will be reviewing later in this demonstration. This option, when ticked, allows this broker ID to be copied direct to your GRPO. One of our next options, which is very important, is to set your PO delivery date. This option will allow the user to set the PO delivery date. When checked, you will see a prompt if the PO date is earlier than your container entry estimated dates. You can choose to update the PO directly from that prompt or leave the PO as is. Next is our default unique container serial number option. This allows each container to be unique in its number. Our next option is for using pre-billing. Pre-billing allows the user to link containers to invoices, which can be handy if your company uses AR reserve invoices frequently. Our next options that we will go over in more detail while entering our container entries. Next up in our container management settings is Container Management Container Type. You will need to have a minimum of one container type chosen when using container management. If we use our standard SAP Previous Record button, we get that to see a container type that we already have preset for our demonstration. What a container type does, it allows a user to enter the dimensions and weight restrictions for each container. This will allow the users to make sure that they can pack each PO on a container, or if they will need multiple containers per PO. Our next setting is for our Container Ship Via option. We will again use our previous record to see an option that we already have set for our demonstration. Your Container Ship Via options allow the users to set how each container will be sent and the estimated dates of arrival for each container. This will allow the users to see the estimated days to arrive directly from the container entry screen. You do only have to have one ship via set in the container, but you can have multiple options set depending on different routes that each container ships. Our next two options we will be going over more in depth when we enter a container entry. These are the container header fields and container row fields. Our last option in our container management setup is predefined landed cost and distributions. Container management uses the same SAP calculations for calculating landed costs. This predefined landed cost and distribution screen allows you to enter a landed cost template should you be using frequently the same landed costs. Now let's get started entering a container. Let's go to your Resolv menu option and Container Management. Here you will see two options: Entry Processing, which allows you to enter the container entry, and Container Reports. Container Reports are reports that allow you to see a brief snapshot of all containers and their current statuses. Today we're going to go over container entry processing. Our first option, we will show you how to enter a container and receive it via Container Management Desktop. At the end of this demonstration, we will also be showing you how to use the Resolv mobile application when receiving in a container. So you'll notice our container entry processing screen opens in the exact same manner as most SAP screens, and that is in Find mode. We have three options for entering a container. If you know your PO, you can enter it here in the Enter PO field, and then you'd Quick Add or Quick Select to enter the container entry. Quick Add will copy all items from the PO to your container, while Quick Select allows you to select each item individually. You can also use the Copy PO button down at the bottom of your screen should you not know your PO number. This will open a list of all POs for you to choose from. Today, since we know our PO, we're going to enter it right here and use our Quick Add to add all items from this PO to our container entry. You see that all items from this PO have now been entered in your container entry main tab. If you click onto your Details tab, you will see we have two options. We have an item view and a container view. If you have multiple containers per container entry, you can click on Container View and it will show you each container, which you then can drill into and see each item within each container. For our purposes today, we will be using Item View because we will be packing all of these items within one container. Let's go back to our PO Items tab. Now, let's set the status of our container to our first status option, which is Planned, and save our container entry so that then we can proceed through receiving our container. Again, we can use our standard SAP previous record to go back to our container that we just created. Now, if we go to our Details tab, we'll see a little bit more information. As we pack our items on our container, our item code column will populate with our item numbers. So let's pack our items. This will open our packing item screen. If you do not wish to ship all of these items on this container, you can feel free to select only the items wanted. For our purposes, we will be packing all of these items on one container. Here you will see your option for your container type, which is what we set up during our configuration. This has a standard SAP Browse button, which allows you to select the container type. For our purposes, I'm going to select our largest container type so that we can make sure all of our items fit on our container. Your next field is your container serial number, which is automatically populated because we selected Use Unique Serial Numbers in our container management configuration. This number will not be able to be duplicated and will be unique to this container entry. The next three fields contain additional information which is not mandatory, but if you do know this information, it is best practice to enter it. So now that we've selected each of our items, all you have to do is select Pack, and it will pack your items within this container. Now you see our container serial number is the same for each item because each item is packed within the same container. If all of your items have packed correctly, and all of your items should still be shipping within one container, you will mark these items as finished. Marking these items as finished will make it so that you can no longer make changes to your packed items. Our next step will be to enter some of our container header fields. These 6 fields here are what we went over in our container management configuration. These are our UDFs that we've added for additional information. If you choose not to use additional UDFs, then you will not see any of this information. However, you can make any UDF anything that you wish it to be that will give your users additional information regarding this container entry. To our far right, you can select your Ship Via option. This can be done during the packing process or directly from our header in our container entry. For our purposes today, this container will be going air freight. Our estimated departure date will be today, and you'll see that as soon as we enter our estimated departure date, our estimated arrival, clear date, and receipt date are entered. Once we enter our actual departure date, our estimated arrival date will be calculated automatically based upon your ship via. Let's save our updates thus far. Here is the prompt that we were mentioning during our SAP Container Management configuration. This prompt is telling us that our PO has a date of 12/13, which is before our container date of 1/30. So we can update our PO directly from here to match our container dates or leave as is. Let's update our PO so it matches our container. Now that we've updated our PO, we're basically going to fast forward through the receiving process so that we can show you each step of the way during our demonstration. For this, we're going to use our set container status to set our container to shipped. Once we set to ship, our departure date will automatically be entered. If you update, it'll save our changes. Next, let's update it to at port. At port will update your arrival date based upon your departure date. Next status is cleared, which is the date that our container will be clearing customs. This enters your clear date in your container header field. Next up is our last step in our receiving process, which is received. Once we click receive, we will see a prompt from the system that it is creating our GRPO based on our container entry. Should you want to make any changes to your container entry, you will click cancel. If everything is good to go with the container, you will click OK and your GRPO will be created. Once the GRPO is created, the system will send you a system message prompt which shows you the number of your GRPO. Let's click OK. And now the main tab of your container entry, you will see the last PO receipt is a link directly to your GRPO. You'll also note that in your GRPO, you have an active link to your container, which if you drill into will open back up your container entry screen. You can have multiple POs and GRPOs linked to the same container. Let's briefly go over landed costs and how we can enter them direct from our container entry. Let's briefly review landed costs as seen from our container entry screen. If you click on your landed cost option, it will open your landed cost screen, which allows you to enter estimated landed cost, or you can copy them directly from your PO or list of landed costs in standard SAP Business One and add. A few other options that we have is to go into your projected landed cost tab in your container entry screen. This allows you to use the option to enter a new landed cost, calculate your landed cost, or use one of our templates from our predefined landed cost, which we reviewed in configuration. For our example, let's use our template. If you click on your drop-down caret, it will show you all of your options. Our shipping and insurance option is what we'll use today. Here you see the landed cost amount is direct from our template, but we can change this manually. Landed cost to your container entry document. Our final step in receiving our container is to mark our container as complete. Marking a container as complete will allow no further changes to the container entry. Should you want to cancel your container entry, you can use void. Let's mark our container as complete, since we know that everything is okay with our container entry and our GRPO. That concludes our container entry processing direct from our container management desktop option. Next, we'll be logging into Resolv's mobile application so that we can go over receiving in a container via our mobile option. For this, we do need to make sure that we have a valid container entered to use in our mobile application. We'll need to ensure that your container entry has already entered the cleared status. For our demonstration, we have entered 2 separate containers for this container entry so that we can illustrate how to look up via the container serial number in our mobile application. When logging into your mobile application, you will need access to the internet and your browser. Once you are in your Resolv mobile application, you will see a general login screen. You will need to select the company that you're using, should you have multiple companies, enter your ID and your password. Here you will see your main menu options. Since you are receiving in a container, you will use your receiving menu. Once you click on your receiving menu, you will see an option for your container receiving. The number in the upper right corner shows you how many containers are available for receiving. Now, if you do not know your container entry number, you can use our Browse buttons to the far right of your screen to look up your container entry document number. Here you will see a list of all containers that are able to be received, and at the very bottom you will see our container, number 120. Once we select this, you will now see a container field. This container field pertains to the unique serial number per container. You do not have to receive in both containers on your container entry in order to receive the item in and create a GRPO. You can only receive in one, which will create a GRPO with only those items received on it. Let's click on our first container. This enters you into the container receiving entry screen, which shows your item, its bin location, its remaining quantity to be received, and its unit of measure. Now you can enter in the quantity you want to receive. Should this item not be fully received, you can enter any quantity you choose, and the remaining quantity will remain open. Once we click 1, we will use the Add button to receive in this item. Let's take a quick look at some of our options right here in our mobile application. If you click Hide Finished, it will hide any items already received, which is a little less confusing when the user is using it. Let's click on that and see what I mean. Now we will see only the remaining items. Let's click on this item and receive it in as well. Quantity is 1. Let's click Add. Now you will see that we have no data available, which means that all of the items on this document, container entry number 120, have been received. If you click Finish, it will post these records to SAP. Now let's look back at our standard SAP screen. Let's use our previous record in order to go back and then back to document number 120. Now you will see on our Details tab that the status has been set to Finished, and you now have an item quantity in your scanned quantity column. This scanned quantity is the quantity that we received in via our mobile application. This will create your GRPO. From your Container Entry Main tab, you can again drill directly into your GRPO. That way we make sure we save all of our changes. Now if everything is set with this container, we can again mark it as complete. This concludes our container management demonstration. Thank you for your time.